Hello and welcome back to the Dropout Dragon. Today we're going to be looking at the Forlorn Greatsword. And this weapon you can get from killing Forlorn a bunch of times, I believe 6 times in his regular invasion spots. And you can get him from Strayed, who sells his armor pieces and the 2 weapons that you get after you've killed him 6 times. So it's a nice bleeding weapon, so we're going to go with a bleed setup using the Shadow Gauntlets and the Blood Crest Ring. Now, it has a very odd scaling mechanic where it scales off of how hollow you are. So I would not recommend this for invasions unless you want to get really tricky about things. I would recommend this for the arena because you get your health back anyway. So like I said, it doesn't have a very unique moveset. In fact, it has one of the weaker movesets of the Greatswords. Not my favorite. It has that just kind of really slow, roll-catchy kind of stuff. And normally that's good, but it's a little too slow for my taste, so it's not really my favorite thing. So we're gonna try and see what we can do. Now, the weird thing about this weapon, and I don't know why, but, FromSoft and all its fucking brilliance, if you raw infuse it, however hollow you are, it doesn't do anything to the base damage of the weapon if you raw infuse it. So you don't need to be full hollow or anything like that to get some damage out of it if you raw infuse it. But I think that kind of defeats the point of the weapon, seeing as how there's other great swords that can do the exact same thing without raw infusing it, getting that same kind of damage. So I think not using it as a bleed weapon is kind of getting rid of the one unique feature it has, despite the fact that it's a great sword, because great swords aren't the best for any of the, bleed kind of stuff. Claws and the Ashen Warrior sword are better, but we'll see what we can do. It does a lot of crit damage for, because it is a great sword, so you can get a lot of bleed build up on that. And of course, we fight a Chaos Blade that is poison infused. All right, people doing some interesting stuff lately, and I'll just catch them in those rolls right there with those simple R1s. R1, spammy spam. So he's waiting on it now. He's going to back up because he knows he's very close to bleeding, because this does have a very high bleed buildup. I will give it that. This and the Scythe can bleed people very quickly, despite the fact that they're both slow, but they are good. So he's going to back up some more. He's already panicking. It's funny, people who get bled, they start really freaking out, which is the worst thing to do when you get bled, because you don't roll as quick. You don't have it as quick things as you need to get out of there. So it's better just to go crazy R1 or just get in their face about it. Oh, wow, okay. I'll take that, I guess, but I'm sure that looked interesting on his screen. Well, we had that fight in the bag anyway. He was too passive, and I was able just to stay on him and not care, despite the fact that he had katanas. Because the moment he started panicking about being bled, he just kind of pussed out. So he's got to be a little careful. He's got to be a little bit more aware of what he's doing. And when you're fighting a bleed build, it's okay to be bled, but it's when you get bled, people panic, and it's just so easy to punish them for it. So there is that. And there's not a whole lot to be said about this weapon. I will be reviewing the Scythe. That's the next video. I'm not very good with scythes, but I'm gonna try. But we're gonna go back and forth. Now, a lot of the people with this weapon, because of the fact that it required a very odd scaling mechanic, because of the fact that it just wasn't that great as compared to the other great swords, almost overnight it lost popularity after Scholar came out, and that's the way, that's the name of the game with weapons that aren't some meta OP crap. Like, Mr. Chaos Blade over here, who wants to trade so bad he can taste it. But I'm not going to give it to him. I'm just going to get in his face, and he's going to roll into me, which is a terrible mistake on his part. I think he knows his very few chances to actually kill me comes from trades, and I'm not letting him trade with me. I'm spacing out my attacks and not letting him do it, so we'll go ahead and take that. I'm going to wait a little bit before we hit the queue again, so we don't match up with the same exact guy. But see, even though I'm fighting a person who has faster, more damaging weapons, if you just think about it, you can put this to good use and build up his bleed and get him kind of spooked. Now, remember, viability in this game doesn't just come from the weapon. I mean, there's going to be a ton of Reddit warriors and YouTube comments about people who, oh, this weapon isn't bad, you're just bad at the game. Well, that's true and not true at the same time. I mean, there comes to a point where a weapon just isn't that great. And you might be great, but sometimes you just can't trade with the other guy and you have issues. So this weapon's bleed mechanic kind of balances that just a little bit. Like, nobody really wants to trade with you. Because it does so much bleed damage, which is nice, but at the same time, if we're going to go with that whole direct damage thing, if he's two-handing a Chaos Blade and he's buffed it, I'm going to have a bad time. But it is nice to see these builds in the arena right here. We got a poison build, you know, rude or not rude, he's doing something different. You know, he's not pulling out the same garbage, and I didn't think he'd go for a second one, which was, I guess, my mistake. And he wants to go for that running attack. I would imagine that we're going to have a little bit of lag. Now, the problem with the bleed builds, and this is the worst, is bleed builds and poison builds, is direct damage is better than these kinds of damages. And for that reason right there. He spent a lot of effort trying to poison me, and I just wasn't having it. I wasn't having it. Now, he's a much faster build, so I'm having a little bit more trouble with the Greatsword. It's bothering me. I'm waiting a little bit, try to catch him in rolls. He's trying to do the same with his whip. So this is one of those fights where it comes down to a lot of the person's ability to roll. And I feel bad for him because he's probably going to win anyway because he knows he's not letting me bait him out for things, and he's not letting me trade with him. And he can spam that dagger, and I'm fucking dead. Which I was dumb for me to roll into him a bunch of times, but GG. The problem with poison builds, despite his high damage with the bent blade, obviously spamming the dagger, I have no poise, so that was a serious problem for me. I wouldn't have traded very well. The problem with poison builds is that anybody can just moss. I mossed on him in the beginning, and had he not switched over to that dagger, I probably would have won, but that just happens. It's a pretty cheesy build on his part with the dual dagger, or not dual dagger, sorry, the two-handed dagger. But you know, anything that makes something viable, like, I guess go for it. I mean, it's not gonna be the best build in the world as those poison builds. I'm gonna be putting out a video where I use dual manslayers and try to poison as many people as I can, and people can just moss in your face, and it's not really worth punishing them for because sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes it's not enough damage, and you have yourself a bad time. So poison in the arena is not that great. Poison in invasions is fantastic because those people never carry moss, I've noticed. They never carry moss. This guy wants to parry. I can tell really quickly off the bat. He's kind of just stood there and looked at it. He was like, oh yeah, I'll just stand here and take your running R1. No, he wanted to parry, and he wanted to parry real bad. So he's going to wait, catch him rolls. He's playing very reactive. I'm just going to kind of look at him and be like, all right, guy, you're the coolest, and let's do that. Yeah, he's playing very reactive. I'm just going to look at him like, hey, I'm not playing this game the same way you are. This isn't my favorite thing in the whole world, just to look at you circle me all day. And then I'll get impatient and get parried at some point. This is the arena in a nutshell. This is how it goes. See, he's going for parries. He wants it. He wants it more than life itself. So he's playing very defensive, very reactive, and that's very hard for me because I'm using a Greatsword. And eventually he gets his parry. He'll feel good about it, and that's fine. He can feel good about it, and, you know, whatever. No trade on my part, which is just sad, but this is the way the arena is, and it's very hard. I mean, this is a straight sword versus a Greatsword. It's very hard if they know what they're doing, because he's got the faster weapon, and I'm just, you know, this is why I have so much trouble caring about this game nowadays. But and he wasn't even really that great at what he was doing. He was going to spam the parry or wait for his opportunity to parry over and over again, and he became reliant on that. So just delay your attacks, and you could just laugh at him. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, his passiveness got him really nowhere because he's putting himself in the position where he's going to fuck up and not get his parry off. So it can be kind of aggravating when you fight that guy because it just makes the fight boring. It makes the fight not as enjoyable. because they're just looking at you. They want the win so goddamn bad that they will not attack, and they just want to punish you, especially longsword users, myself included. When it comes to some of the higher PvP in this game, that's all it turns into, is who can be the most reactive and who can punish, because chances are you're not going to hit them the normal way. You got to be tricky with it. You gotta get weird with it. But, you know, a build like this one, this build is a conversion from a Rob Flynn, so I can use this weapon. I've kind of just changed the stats a little bit, but it's still a Rob Flynn quality. Not very amazing when using other things like bleed and all that. Pretty good for it. It's a decent conversion. It's still viable. I've made mistakes of rolling into people, and I need to stop doing that. I haven't played in about 3 days, so this is my first like hour in 3 days. I'll go ahead and get him right there. I'll get him in the backstab just a little bit. He's using a slow weapon, which puts me at the advantage because now I'm using a slow weapon. He's going to go for that backstab. I'm not going to give it to him, except unless I give it to him. Thought I'd catch him in the roll again. That did not happen. He's going for a bleed. Now that was really surprising that I didn't get that that backstab. That surprised me. And he's just going to look at me. He's a little laggy, I will say. He's a little laggy, but I'll go ahead and parry him so we can just enjoy ourselves in that. I really enjoy parrying laggy people because it's just like, yes, I did it. And I feel pretty good about that kind of prediction, knowing the latency isn't that great. But, you know, you do what you can. But this build, like I was saying before, this is a Rob Flynn build, and it does not have poise. Well, it might have a little poise, but it doesn't have anything that's going to save me from anything. It's got 18 poise. Ooh, nobody gives a shit. 18 poise just for the fashion, but it's not going to save me from anything, including a dagger, which is one of the reasons, you know, if you see somebody with no poise, you can just pull out a two-handed dagger and go to town and be like, all right. I don't feel comfortable parrying daggers either. I would have felt a little bit better maybe if I had parried him, but this is the fourth time I've fought this guy. But that's okay. I'm not too concerned in this video about, you know, variety. This is just a great sword. Like I said, I'm not too comfortable with it, but you guys wanted me to use it real quick and talk about it a little bit, so I'm doing that now. Trying to get away with it, but it's not something I'm too overly excited about using. It's not the end of the world for me to not have the best video up. I don't think my YouTubes are that great anyway, so there's that. He's two-handed it, so I can't parry him, but I think he's going to get too reliant on the trades, and he's playing very passive now. He does not know how to use a Murakumo. He would have set that up with an R2. So now he's playing as reactive as possible. And I have to be the aggressor, which means I'm probably going to end up trading with him on the worst levels because that's a Murakumo. But oh, he spaced that accordingly. That was a smart move. Unfortunately, he probably used a little bit too much stamina. Had there not been a little bit of lag there, which this guy's like a fraction of a second off with lag. So it's kind of interesting to see him space like that, but he's backing up, backpedaling, not something I'm interested in looking at. I'll go ahead and punish that real quick. I'll be reactive too. He's bled, so he's thinking about it real hard. Probably going to start thinking about that backstab. Yeah, he wants to do the backstab. He's thinking about it. So we're just looking at him, not letting him trade with me, trying not to let him trade with me. Of course, I'm going to get hit and feel stupid. So, let's see, now that looked interesting. We got some interestingness about it. And he fucked up his backstab, and that's okay. I'll take it. Like, all right. But you know, I'll be honest, guys. Like I'm really kind of in a coast mode, waiting on more Souls content. You know, I'm kind of curious of what Bloodborne's DLC is going to be, but I don't think it's going to actually fix that game's PvP in like any way. So I'm not sure that matters. I don't know if that matters like at all. I'm curious about Dark Souls 3. Now, Bloodborne hurt me on the inside. Show me where the bad game touched you. It hurt me on the inside. One of the reasons is I built that game in my head up so much, that I didn't enjoy it when I played it. I mean, it's got a million problems. I'm not the only one to say that or think that. It's got a million problems, but at the same time, that game hurt me, and I let it hurt me because I hyped myself up too much. So I'm trying not to let Dark Souls 3 do the same. So we have this reactive guy again, which is just unfun. So I'm just gonna look at him real quick. Whatever. It was R1 when he gets close. Like this isn't a fun fight to me. This guy really wants to win, and he wants to win more than anybody else. He really wants it. He wants to win more than anybody else, and this is, well, maybe not like another guy I saw this morning with a buffed warp sword. Warp swords are the devil, and you should feel bad if you use them. But this guy really, I don't know, maybe he's practicing parrying or something, but he just wants it. He wants it so damn bad, so I'm going to be more reactive than he is. And this isn't a boring, this isn't an amazing way to fight, and it's pretty boring to watch, but at the same time, this is how you beat these people. This is how you do it. You can't fall for their crap, because he wants to backpedal, and he wants to do it all day. He wants to backpedal, and then when I won't follow him, he's got to get in close, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So this is that life. So I'll just go ahead and flawless him for my trouble. I'll do an edgy walk away. I'm so edgy. Look at me walk away. I want him to know. I want him to know that I am displeased with that fight. Maybe he'll be a little bit more aggressive next time. God, that kind of play style, that is just the bane of my existence. And the way that my YouTubes are done, guys, is very, has this unedited crap to it. So, waiting outside of the statue so I don't hook up with the same person makes for some boring ass YouTube watch. But hey, people tell me I got to focus on YouTube at the same time. So here I am trying to give you guys what you want. I do have some ideas for some further videos, though, so that's okay. But this is so much easier to stream. All of this stuff is just so much easier to stream. And as soon as I'm done with the scythe video, I'm pretty sure I'm going to just stream and hold off on the other ideas until I'm ready to put them up on the YouTube machine. So here we go. This person is someone actually from my chat on Twitch. I do know them. So this will be a interesting fight. They are not as reactive as other people. He tried to unlock and do something, cool, and then it didn't work out for him. Had that been closer, I do not think that would have been a parry. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't think that would have been a parry. He's waiting. He's decided. You know what? Dragon's doing his thing. I need to put myself in the position I can get him. So I'll just go ahead and parry him real quick. And that's a bleed. No flawless for me, but I'll go ahead and do that. GG, buddy. That's 2 parries in one video. That's not a bad take. That's not a bad take. I'll take that. Nothing cool like the super parry, but that's for streams. That's for Twitch when I'm screwing around and I don't care about how long something takes. And on this, I don't want to just completely look like a moron. Got to look good for YouTube, guys. That's the way you do it. But anyway, I can't think of anything really to talk about when it comes to this weapon. I can't think of anything that hasn't already been said. It looks cool. It is a cool weapon, but it just, unless you're going full bleed like this, there's really no point to using it. There are other weapons that are better than this in terms of, damage. There are better greatswords than this, and you want to go for a bleed and all that. Well, then go for that. Then this is a fun weapon for you. It's kind of a change. It's a mix-up. But do not be surprised when you find yourself, unhappy with its performance, because it is pretty lackluster, and that's the way it's going to be. But I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one. The Dropout Dragon is dropping out.